Driving the long road to the northeast towards Kapama, I had plenty of time to think, and I've concluded, like many before me, that Africa is a truly strange place. In Africa, many roads seem to lead to one destination. Carl Jung called it synchronicity, the study of meaningful coincidence. Not long ago, I had my own experience of synchronicity, and like Carl Jung, I felt that there was some strange kind of non-causal connecting mechanism at work in my life. Let me explain. Last year, I travelled overland through southern Africa on a personal safari. On my way back to South Africa, I stopped off by chance at a farm in Zimbabwe, where I met and played with a herd of tame African elephants. How strange that nearly a year later, I should meet these animals again, this time in South Africa. Africa has such a consistent way of connecting us to each other, to places and to animals, that a person like me, with a big fat mystical streak, can only think of as magical. It happened like this. The Mpumalanga bushveld of South Africa is breathtakingly beautiful. I was, as I said, travelling to Kapama, to Camp Jabulani, in fact, within the Kapama Private Game Reserve. Partly to recapture the feeling of centrality I knew from my bushveld safaris as a child, and partly to ride on elephant back through the bush. I chose to stay at Camp Jabulani because it's the most exclusive camp in Kapama, and I felt the need for comfort and luxury. I wasn't disappointed. The camp for the creme de la creme. My writer friend David and I unpacked and went to the main lodge for a quick pre-lunch gin and tonic, and enjoyed the swaying suspension bridge that provides safe access across what was now a dry riverbed, but which roars and foams with life in the rainy season. We arrived just before lunch and were greeted by a luxurious spread out under the trees on the patio of the lodge. Jabulani is all earth and thatch. The architects have been inspired by the natural materials of the bushveld, and the combination of organic and Afro-modern styles sit perfectly together. This is 20s elegance from Kenya, with a modern edge. Karen Blixen and Dennis Finch Hatton would have been perfectly at ease here amongst the sybaritic luxury of an outsized tub and fluffy white towels. There's one feature that's a special favourite of mine, an outdoor shower. Glass enclosed, but built out into the elements, an enormous shower store like this really makes me feel at home in the bush again. There's an eclectic assortment of fascinating knickknacks at Jabulani, ranging from potent medicine masks through whimsical beaded dolls to a pair of really elegant Georgian-style armchairs. Surprisingly, all this is perfectly compatible. Africa itself is pretty eclectic too. After lunch, we all went off to the Kapama Cheetah Project camp, run and owned by Lente Rueda, a true African angel of mercy for orphaned or endangered animals of all kinds. This elegant, almost fragile-looking woman has a will of steel and a soft heart. She's almost single-handedly built up this costly but precious enterprise that protects and cares for animals like the cheetah. The cubs know Lente well, and when she calls them, they come running to greet us. They are totally entrancing, wild and nervous, but tamed too by love. Meeting them and touching them is an absolutely precious experience for me. Since my childhood, I've dreamt of the myth that once in the distant past, we possessed the power to speak with animals, to communicate with other species. Today, I live that myth for real. Lente knows each cub personally, and they respond to her cooing and caresses like naughty but affectionate schoolchildren. Being so close to a wild animal is a privilege that will stay with me for many years. Lente's training their hunting instincts in a small way with his paw. The old explorers always said that you should never run from a hunting cheetah. The sight of a fleeing creature seems to elicit in them a primal desire to chase and ambush. And watching these little bundles of spotted fur, I think there's probably a lot of truth in the story. Being close to these essentially gentle creatures, who really pose very little threat to people in the wild, I find it completely incomprehensible how anyone would ever want to kill one for sport. And when Lente takes me to see the marvel of her pride, her king cheetahs, I feel that profound kingship with the animal kingdom, a kind of mystical at oneness that the African bushmen still possess, and which we once had too. Seeing this magnificent predator playing like an oversized pussycat with Lente makes me think that we've been deeply misguided in our long attempts to interpose a conceptual space between ourselves and the rest of the natural world. We're probably not fallen angels, but rather risen apes, as linked to the whole creation, to the whole of the expanding cosmos, as bedded into its fabric of birth, death, and recreation as a dung beetle or a distant star. Killing animals, we each time kill a little of ourselves as well. Listen to that purr, like a phrase on the cellos. The cot of the king cheetah is differently marked. The broken anthracite spots and stripes that you see along its backbone are a diagnostic form of dichromism. The king cheetah is bigger too, and more stately and elegant. Certainly more elegant than this lumpy little rhino calf that we encounter, along with his mom and dad, dozing in the heat and grazing idly on the sweet grass. These three pachyderms are the wild cousins of the tame little rhino that Lente saved a short time ago from death. The staff mix up a mix of nourishing nutrients, uniquely developed here at Kapama by Lenta and her team. And then it's feeding time. This cute little bundle of rhino fun bunks down with his personal friend, a small calf. The two are inseparable, real chums who go everywhere together. It's almost impossible to believe that this cuddly little monster will one day grow into a 2-ton horned adult. Lenta isn't a speciesist. Although cheetah are her favorites, she understands the complex interlinkings of the wild and cares for all creatures, great and small. From majestic sable antelope to vultures, Lenta understands how the creatures interact and how each functions in the great chain of being that stretched from the lowliest microbe to the noblest elephant. She even keeps and cares for 3 packs of wild dog at Kapama, a genetic and zoological resource held in trust for the whole of Africa. These wonderful creatures have long been misunderstood. Stigmatized as heartless killers and often shot on sight, it took the long and painstaking study of Hugo von Lawick in the Ngorongoro crater to reveal to the world the complex and caring social system that underlay the success of the wild dog as a species in Africa. Equally misunderstood, but utterly essential to Africa, is the vulture, the wide-ranging species of meat-eating carrion consumers who perform the necessary dustman work of the bush. Each species has evolved a different role. Those with sharp beaks open up the skin first, to be followed by the griffins with their long necks who eat the soft internal organs. Nature's way is often cruel, but never sentimental. The vultures fight and dance, and to us they look almost ugly. But they are as much part of the pattern as the cheetah and the elephant. And Lenta, in her wisdom, knows all this. Later, back at camp, I indulge myself in a little massage and a little very necessary beauty therapy at the bush spa. Then it's back to the comfort and beauty of the main lodge, where I can reflect on the joys of the day and write up my diary while I look out at the beauty all around me. Then at dusk, we go out to the elephant trail to enjoy a sundowner. Led by an armed ranger who precedes them on foot, the elephant materialize out of the darkness one by one, like basalt carvings or a giant frieze, beautiful, stately, calm, and dignified. I can't resist. Although it's not my turn, I love riding on elephants, and I mount up for the return trip to camp. On the way, we see an example of Africa's bizarre sense of fairness. Lying in a dry riverbed not a quarter-mile from camp, we come across a pride of 9 male lions, silent, lying asleep, and quiet together. The old dominant male is in very bad shape. Emaciated, racked by shivers, his ribs showing under the skin, tormented by ticks. He is clearly on his last legs. His sons, or brothers, show no interest and display no caring. He will die alone and in great pain. But the sun will still rise and the moon will still go down, all as if he had never existed, all as if he had never mattered. Next morning, I'm up early, ready for my official ride on the elephants. Fortified by a glass of orange juice, I watch a hot air balloon rise high over Kapama, and then we walk down to find our mounts. I've ridden elephants before, but it is only now, as I meet the elephants in daylight, that I recognize my friends from over a year ago. The elephants I met in Zimbabwe. Synchronicity, kismet, fate, happy accident, call it whatever you like, but I know the elephants know me too. The story is simple. Lenteruda acquired little Jabulani, the name means happiness in Sindebele, and adopted him, saving him from certain death. While searching for a family for him, she heard of a group of elephants in Zimbabwe, trained and tame, who were about to be shot. She bought the lot, transported them to Kapama, and put them to work. This is what they do now. They pay for their keep by taking tourists on safari. Riding an elephant is a delight and a rare privilege. You travel as if borne on the wings of a great sailing ship, silent, calm, and slow. The elephant's measured step is a rhythmic adagio, all in keeping with Africa's own pace. The staff have prepared a breakfast for us out in the bush beside the river. We dismount after 2.5 hours of total bliss on elephant back. The elephants have learned their own deeply touching rituals of greeting and goodbye, and they perform this flawlessly. But they're excited. They know they're going for a swim. I've often watched elephants playing in the water in the wild, and every time I've been struck by how like little children they are. Their delight is obvious and contagious. They love the water the way we do. We enjoy a good glass of bubbly and watch them play. Sabakwe, the biggest. Munyati, kind and complex. Mfuri, a loner. Joe, the gentle one. Jimmy, the sad one. Sitombi, the flirt. Semupani, the big boy. Tokwe, everybody's favorite. Lundi, the great aunt. Fishan, the joker. Booby, the little girl. And Dundee, the star trekker. That night, we enjoy stars of our own. We dine together al fresco in a dry riverbed, our path lit by a milky way of lanterns, and by a moon as yellow as any painted by Vincent van Gogh. Here, under a caster sugar sky, we dine on impala fillet and exotic veggies. And as the fire burns down and the moon arcs across the sky, we talk the night away while the lions roar, at home in Africa.